So with that, I'm going to go through and just kind of walk through a quick demo of this, quick creation of some views and some view policies here. I'm going to run through one very quickly with an NFS view, and then I'm going to walk through one with an SMB view and show you how those are established, how those show up, and then we'll move on to some of the multi-protocol features for this. If you wish, there was a link here that talks about the lab guides for this. So if you want to look at this and kind of follow along with some of the procedures are, this would be the lab guide that you'd use in the Cosmos labs for read-only. It's not necessarily what you're doing here, but you'll get a general idea for it. So with that, let me go through and bring up my environment here. So I have already logged into my system. So I'm logged into my vast cluster. I've got a whole bunch of views already existing here. But let's talk about the ones that I have. So I've created some view policies already for this. So I'm going to come in here. We see we've got a bunch of different view policies in here. But my view policies that I have are prefixed with demo. We're going to start with the NFS view policy. So I'm going to take a look at this, and we're going to see where this is, how this is put together. So I have a name here of demo NFS. It is the default view policy for this, for the default tenant. We're using the security flavor of NFS. I have my permissions basically open for any client to read or write. I am using the providers to get my NFS or to get my groups for my users. So with this setup here, I would be able to go through and handle more than 16 groups for any particular user. I don't have anything set up for S3 here, nothing specific for S3. This is, at this point, this is really only an NFS view, so I'm not doing anything really interesting with the SMB aspect. I do have my POSIX mode bits set here for this. So any file that I would create over SMB onto the views using this view policy would start out with these permissions. Any directories would have these permissions here. I'm not doing anything interesting with the auditing. This cluster doesn't have auditing turned on for it, so I can't even turn anything on here. And I've got files created using the lowest common denominator for this for just maximum compatibility with all of those. Okay. My other view policy here is an SMB view for this. This one is really going to be very similar. It's a very simple view. I'm using SMB flavor, meaning we're going to be expecting NTFS or SMB style permissions on things. It's exposed out over all the VIP pools, and I have all the kind of the same, very similar rules here for this, for these here. Now, the one thing you notice here is that the default POSIX mode bits, which was an option under SMB, does not exist in this flavor right now, or this view policy, because I'm using the SMB flavor, and the SMB flavor has all those inheritable ACLs. So we don't need to define what the default POSIX mode bits will be, because it's going to get files created will inherit things from the parent directory. And then auditing advanced is all the same. So let's walk through. I've got the view policies created. Let's walk through and create a view. So first off, let's start. We're going to take a look at our views, the existing views that I have here. There's a whole bunch of different ones with different policies in use and different protocols in use, but we're going to create just a basic one. I'm going to start using the demo one here, and I got a whole bunch of people that have demo using that. So, but let's create one net new ones here. So we'll come here, element store, views, and we say create new. And it's going to prompt me for the questions. I ask, what tenant are we creating this in? If we're not using multi-tenancy, default is going to be the tenant that's on there. This cluster does have multiple tenants on it, but we're not using, I'm just going to put this in the default tenant. We're going to go through, define the path that I'm going to use to create this view in here. This is going to have to begin with a slash. So we'll do slash, and I'm going to call this demo-NFS. And then I simply go through and select the protocols that I wish to go through and use. So in this case here, I'm just going to do this export as NFS V3 for this example. I don't have to provide an SMB share name. If I wanted to, I could go through and alias this out, meaning I could present this NFS view as something other than /demo NFS, but I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to leave that the way it is. And then I select the view policy that I want. So I've got a whole bunch of view policies listed in here. I'm going to find that I want, which happens to start with demo, and I'm going to grab this demo NFS one. We're not going to set a quality of service policy for this, and we're going to create a new view. Now, before I do this, let's look at a client here. And I'm going to go through and take a look at my client. Hold on a sec here. Of course, that's going to be fun because it's not going to want to show me that. We'll do that. All right, so we're taking a look at my client here, and I'm going to just take a look at my exports off the cluster. So I'm going to do a show mount minus E against the VIP pool that I want to mount here. Main.se lab bar 201. And just to filter some things out, I'm going to grep for demo, just to go through and show that grep demo. And we're going to see, again, there's a whole bunch of ones in here, but I don't have one that is being shown that is the NFS-demo one here. I've got a whole bunch of other ones, but not the one that I'm looking for. Okay, so we don't have that view there. Now, if I go through and I save this, and I say I'm going to create a new directory, I'm going to create this view here. And we're going to be able to go through and run that same show mount command again. And I'm going to see in here that somewhere in the list, I have my demo NFS. And at this point, I can go through and I can mount it. So I have the mount already in here for this. So I'm going to go through and mount this here by my sudo password. And I have this mounted, I have available storage to it, and I can go through and I can start creating files. Do hello world here. And we'll see I'm able to go through and create files, just kind of how I would expect to do it. I'm going to put some data in here as well. Okay, so I have a file out there, I have data out there. Yeah, pretty basic, but very simple to go through, create new views. The default permissions on anything we present out is basically to be open. We would expect you to come in as root over NFS and do your chmods and your chones to go through and change the initial permissions if you wanted to tighten down those initial permissions. Okay, so let's do the same thing with SMB. So I'm going to create a view called demo-SMB, and I'm on Windows Explorer here. I see this. There is no demo SMB view that's out there. There's a demo 44 one, but not a demo SMB one. So let's walk through how we create an SMB view. And it's basically going to be the same thing, except we change a few things. You know, demo SMB is the name of the directory. Okay, I don't want NFS View 3. I want this to be SMB. And then I get some other attributes that show up here. So here I'm going to go through and say I'm going to call this shared demo-SMB. And I'm going to use my demo SMB view policy that I created. I'm going to create a new directory. Now, there's a couple other options I could set, like share level ACLs if I wanted to. By default, we're just going to do pass-through for things. If I want to do things like access-based enumeration of the directory, I could do that as well. But we're going to leave this just the way it is. I'm just going to go through and do create. And the view gets created there. If I come back to my Windows client, I'm going to be able to go through here and I'm going to see that I now have a demo SMB directory. So I can go through and I can mount this. I can access it. I can come in here and I can create a text document in here. Say hello SMB. And I'm going to put some data in it too. And we're going to save that out. And everything's good there. Now, the permissions that we set on this, again, are going to be very, very open. But if I look at permissions from a Windows side, we're going to see here that it looks like that. We can go through and do things like set permissions and things there. And there's some options here for this. We got one for everyone and creator, owner, creator group, which basically means whatever user creates the files or their primary group. That's how the files get set. And then we've got some other ones here. These two kind of raw looking ones have to do with the root user and the root group on there. We could delete those if we wanted to for that, but they show up on there. But it behaves basically like a Windows view for that. So that's all fine. So very easy to go through, create views, create view policies, especially for a single protocol that's out there.